These niggas ain't bigger than me. These niggas ain't Nas, ain't Jigger than me. These niggas ain't M, they ain't 50 to me. You ain't Pun, you ain't Pac, you ain't Biggie to me. These niggas ain't Crips, they ain't 60s to me. These niggas ain't Bloods, they ain't dripping with me. Niggas talking that shit by the new generation, man. Fuck these niggas, I slash your fucking faces. You niggas ain't so shit, not an album or a rock. Pussy nigga putting rings on my old bitch. Dick down the throat ass niggas, old hoe ass niggas. Happy cause you went gold ass niggas. These niggas ain't spitting with me. You ain't sicker than me. Fuck out my section, you ain't sitting with me. This for very important people. It's clear that we not equal. Clear you niggas faggots. I'm the Black Marshall Matt. Like yin 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 on a motherfucker. Who needs Hulk Hogan when you got Sting on this motherfucker? Less than 5 albums, kiss the ring on this motherfucker. California throne and I'm the king on this motherfucker. I don't wanna hear it. Weak ass lyrics, crying on the hook, thinking we gon' feel it. Oh, lost ass niggas, voice crack when you talk ass nigga, rolling blunts for the boss ass niggas. I came in with Ye, Jeezy and boss ass niggas. Your freshman cover a whole bunch of soft ass niggas. Tampon lyricists evacuate the premises. Mute BET ciphers cause I don't wanna hear that shit. May you rest in piss, you fuck niggas. Hey Frank Ocean, go ahead, fuck these fuck niggas. Yeah, they fuck niggas. Ain't no 3 stacks in your class, so take your top 10 spot and shove it up your ass, bitch, boy. Niggas already fucked your bitch, you bitch, boy. And every time you kiss on that hoe, you suck my dick, you bitch, boy. And when you buy that hoe a bag, that bitch carry my bricks, you bitch, boy.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Good afternoon, good morning, good after evening, whatever the hell y'all got going on. It's that time for you. It's your boy Sean P in the place to be. Like the show, share the show, tell a friend, we live. We're gonna deal with this deal. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna deal with this deal. All right, so if you saw the thumbnail, man, Denise, honey claw, sugar plum, bar method, whatever the hell she want to call herself in her transition from one channel to another. She did a video, sent me the video, used me in the video, but I never watched the video. I began to start it. I heard me in the clip and then I stopped. So she thought she would be in the clear as if I was just going to let her little video slide. Well, I got time today. And we're going to get into her video presentation on astrology and see what the hell she's arguing. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break her shit down live. Proper life. Disrespect respectively. Vulgar or not. It's raw and real over here. This is the Science with Sean channel, where we practice proper research methodology, ghetto way. So bear with one moment here while I get my screen shared. Get this joke up on the screen. That she got this video, so I don't know why she running and hiding and dodging. You know what I'm talking about? Running and hiding, ducking and dodging. Come get this work, honey clog. Come on, y'all. Like the show, share the show, because we finna get it in.
You're looking very handsome, Tyler. Very tall. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
Hold on, y'all. All right, here we go. Let's go.
Good morning, y'all. Okay. We're going to get straight to this build.
Well, it's not a pseudoscience.
It's a pseudoscience.
I came up with something different.
Let's read it again.
Indeed, astrologers complain that most scientific tests have tested the science's concept of astrology, not astrology as practiced by the reputable astrological community.
So you mean to tell me that there's a community of people who do reputable testing. No.
Charlie,
Read it
what you're
again.
saying is backwards. That's not what it says. The test group selected the correct interpretation as its first choice at the rate of.
You can't see that? Why you stop? From the astrological community's perspective, not the scientific way.
Right, I understand that. I see that.
And there's problems. And now that we have identified the problem, you no longer want to read, Marcus.
No,
You just because it's bullshit, though. Okay, I still wasn't saying that it was a science.
I'm not saying it's a science. I said it's a
What
belief.
it is a chance, a poor chance at that. Because according to the astrological community that designed the test, they failed.
Hello. Okay, as you saw with that build, I was trying to get across to Sean that it's not a pseudoscience. Astrology is not a pseudoscience. That it is a belief system in which he wants to continue to say it's a pseudoscience because that is the accepted belief amongst the scientific community. But you know, science so funny because it proves until it doesn't, right? It proves and then it disproves and it proves and disproves depending on what information is available then. So
Let me educate y'all real quick. Science does two things. It requires you to know how to follow the scientific method. So you have to know proper research methodology. And it's also a tool. Out of knowing the proper research methodology, it acquires you to obtain knowledge. So science is a tool to acquire or obtain knowledge. Okay, just keep it that simple. Science is a tool that allows you to acquire or obtain knowledge. And science job is to falsify science itself. If it can't falsify itself, then it is now known as a scientific theory, which can be converted into a law, which many people don't even understand what a scientific theory is. A scientific theory isn't a theory like, let me give you an example. Like what we say on the street, right? Girls from the South get big booties because they be eating, you know what I'm saying? They be eating that Southern home cooked food. That's a theory. That's a street theory, right? That's how they get them wide gaps or them bow legs or them that juicy booty or you know what I'm saying, whatever the case we want to assume, right? That's just a theory. But a scientific theory goes beyond not only obtaining knowledge, but falsifying things until it can't be falsified. If it can't be falsified, then it becomes a scientific theory, and then it becomes law. It's testable, reputable, repeated over and over and over. You could replicate the success. If you can't replicate the success, it's not considered, it will never get to a theory. It's going to stay in the hypothesis stage.
Once it proves something or it believes something, then it's like, oh shit, that got proven it wrong. Now we're gonna put this other label on it, and that is where I'm tending to disagree. So let's get to what I'm saying here. Astrology is the world's largest belief system. Okay.
Now, y'all heard her make the claim. I didn't say this. She said this. Listen to her again.
What I'm saying here. Astrology is the world's largest belief system. What I'm saying here, astrology is the world's largest belief system.
There you go on the screen. She says astrology is the world's largest belief system. She says that astrology is a belief system. Let's hear her argument, because she says it can't be a pseudoscience. You see it at the top left-hand corner. It says astrology, not a pseudoscience. Well, let's see if she defines astrology, and then let's see if she argues that it's a belief system in its totality. Let's go.
Okay. What I am answering, the question I'm answering today is, should astrology be considered a pseudoscience in modern times? And I'm saying that, well, should it be considered a pseudoscience, right? There's many different types of astrology. This is types of astrology by culture. You have all these different kinds. They do things differently. Like Chinese astrology goes by year. And then we have, Jewish astrology. Then you have this Western astrology. And Western astrology is where I'm going to touch on, because that is what we were touching on in our debate against each other, me and Sean. So, what is Western astrology? Western astrology is a system of astrology most popular in Western countries. Western astrology is historically based on Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos from 2nd century CE, which in turn was a continuation of Hellenistic and ultimately Babylonian traditions. What does that mean? It basically means that it's based on Babylonian traditions. However, it is not the same. As we know, Western astrology is largely horoscopic. That is, it's a form.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing that I actually can do about the quality of what you see on the screen. Maybe, okay, is that a little bit better? All right, let's go.
Of divination based on a construct of a horoscope for an exact moment. Divination is the attempt to gain insight into a question or situation by way of an occultic standardized process or ritual. As we know, when we see occultic and rituals and things like that, we automatically put that into a system of belief mostly. But we're going to continue with the construction of a horoscope for a person's exact moment, such as the person's birth and location, where they were born, and things of that nature, in which various cosmic bodies are said to have an influence on that person. Astrology in Western popular culture is often reduced to the sun sign, which is basically the position of the sun when that person is born. So, although based on the ancient Babylonian construct of astrology, is not the same at all. They, for one, they throw out actual constellations. They fix the constellation, so they fix the signs, right?
Say that again for me. And you're saying that this ain't got nothing to do with science. It's not a pseudoscience. But listen to what you just said. Listen to what you just said, and you said it's not a pseudoscience. Hold on. Let's do this. Proper light. Out of the blue. Let's just do this. Out of the blue. Let's go to NASA. NASA deal with science. There are a few different definitions of constellation, but many people think of constellations as a group of stars. Often it's a group of stars that look like a particular shape in the sky and has been given a name. These stars are far away from Earth. They're not connected to each other at all. Some stars in the constellation might be close, while others are very far away. But if you were drawing lines in the sky, the stars look like a dot to dot puzzle, and use lots of imagination. The picture would look like an object, animal, or a person. Over time, cultures around the world have had different names and numbers of constellations depending on what people thought they saw. Today, there are 88 officially recognized constellations. Okay. This is dealing, why am I bringing this up? Because this is dealing with our natural world, ladies and gentlemen. Constellations are dealing with our natural world. So let me be a little bit more specific in search. I'm just typing it in, right? I don't want to go through any of these sites. But let's just do this. Nah, this is wrong. I don't want to do that. All right. So let's go to Wiki. She was in Wiki. Let's go to Wiki. Let's have some fun. A constellation is an area of a celestial sphere in which a group of visible stars from a perceived pattern or outline typically represent an animal, a mythological subject, or an animated object. Source for that is the Oxford Dictionary. All right. Now, the origins of the earliest constellations likely go back to prehistory. People use them to relate to stories, beliefs, experiences, creations, mythology. So let's stop right there. Now let's hear our argument. I'm telling you, when you start dealing with the natural world, I'm on your ass. Pause.
So although based on the ancient Babylonian construct of astrology, is not the same at all. They, for one, they throw out actual constellations. They fix the constellations, so they fix the signs, right? So whereas the Earth has tilted and it moves, and Aquarius might not be where Aquarius was before, and all that. That doesn't matter in Western astrology. Western astrology, although it took the constellations and things of that nature, it fixed them within the months of our calendar. So that's one difference of this. It's almost not even really based on that anymore, as far as even taking these charts and doing all this. Also, when you do a chart for astrology, you have a sun sign, you have the moon, you have the stars, you have the planets, you know, house you in. You have all these different things. To just take your sun sign and do that, it is really making it super basic, and it is taken away from it as well, right? So it's forming the belief, right? So where it's just we're going to do it. We're just going to do it this way. You know, it's based off of Babylonian traditions, but it is not the same. So when you look at what is
hold on, so it's based on the Babylonian traditions, but it's not the same. So where are the differences from the Babylonian tradition and Western astrology? Since we're using this to we're using this as evidence of your argument. Where's the supportive evidence in your argument for the statement that you just made? Because what you're reading from states, Western astrology is the system of astrology most popular in Western countries. Western astrology is historically based on Ptolemy's Tetrabiblios, which in turn was a continuation of the Hellenistic and ultimately Babylonian traditions. So everything going on in the West is based on Hellenistic and Babylonian traditions, which you say
we're just going to do it this way. You know, it's based off of Babylonian traditions, but it is not the same.
It's based off of Babylonian traditions, but it is not the same. So now I'm expecting to hear you or watch you click on one of these other tabs that you have up and show me the difference between Western astrology, Hellenistic, and Babylonian traditions, since they're not the same, but they are based off of in principle.
So when you look at what is astrology, period, it is the study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies interpreted as having an influence on human affairs in the natural world. Okay, what's a celestial body? Well, celestial is positioned in or relating to the sky and outer space as observed in astronomy, belonging or relating to heaven. So when we're talking about astronomy, it definitely we can get with that because astronomy came out of astrology. They're related, they're linked. Okay. So the Britannica definition of astrology says astrology is a type of divination, which we already know divination is the something that is, you know, done with the cultic practices, rituals, things of that nature. Is belief. So
no, define divination. Don't give us your thought. Define it. Don't speculate. You got screens. You got screens. Which one of these you want me to use? You went to Britannica, so I'm gonna go to Britannica. Which if you would have clicked on it, it would have took you there. Divination, the practice of determining the hidden significance or cause of events, sometimes foretelling the future by various natural, psychological, and other techniques. Found in all civilizations, both in ancient and modern, it is encountered most frequently in contemporary mass society, a society in the form of horoscopes, astrology, crystal gazing, tarot cards, and the freaking Ouija board. Let's go further. In the context of ancient Roman culture and belief, divination was concerned with discovering the will of the gods. Today, however, scholars no longer restrict the word to the root meaning. Divinatory practices and the beliefs undergirding them are greater in scope than discerning the will of the gods and the fatalistic view of the human condition that inspires so much of the early Mediterranean religious thought. In some societies, in fact, divination is practice to which many persons frequently resort, but never in terms of discovering the will of the gods. The idea of godly providence controlling human affairs. Controlling human affairs in such societies is unusual, although humbler spirits are often thought to intervene in troublesome ways. While the divination is most commonly practiced in the modern Western world in the form of horoscopic astrology, other forms were and continue to be of equal importance for other cultures. I'm gonna stop right there. We're gonna get some straightening up in this joker today.
The forecasting of earthly and human events through the observation and interpretation of the fixed stars, the sun, the moon, and the planets. Devotees believe that an understanding of the influence of the planets and stars on earthly affairs allows them to both predict and affect the destinies of individuals, groups, and nations. Though often regarded as a science throughout its history, astrology is widely considered today to be diametrically opposed to the findings and theories of modern Western science. Now we had an interesting conversation about this here. Definition one, let's talk about the interpretation of the fixed stars and stuff. We all know that interpretation basically deals with your belief, deals with your feelings, and deals with your view, your outlook, you personally. It does not have to be a fact. Is any of that? It's just how you see things, right? With all of this whole beginning thing of this, it's belief. I mean, you're talking about divination, devotees, believing in all this stuff, and everything else. And so then you decided that because it is diametrically opposed, well, we can see what you said about it being
let's see what we said.
diametrically opposed
let's see what I said.
to science.
Come on.
And what do you think that means? So let's see what you said about it being
She talking to me.
diametrically
She
opposed.
talking to me.
Completely, directly opposed. Their views are diametrically opposed on the other side. So it's telling us that astrology is on the other side of science, which is a pseudoscience.
So if something is on the opposing side, let's go back to the source, right? Right? Let's get some straightening up in this thing. Let's get some freaking straightening up in this thing. For the slow people in the back. Damn, I didn't mean to do that. This is source you told me to use. Don't use the source. We're gonna bring that joker up. Did I pass the source? There you go, my bad, I did. We're gonna use your freaking source. Now, here's the line that she wants to say. After she said all this bull junk, she don't get into all this stuff. Though often regarded as a science, one more time. Though often regarded as a science throughout its history, astrology is widely considered today to be diametrically opposed to the findings and theories of modern Western science. So let's look up what the word diametrically means. Can we get a definition of the word diametrically? MacBook. Okay. MacBook responds. It's an adverb. It means completely, directly, two diametrically opposed viewpoints. Diametrically. Their views are diametrically opposed. Directly, absolutely, completely, utterly. Okay. What does opposed mean? One more time. Eager to prevent or to put an end to, disproving or disagreeing with, opposed to the construction of nuclear power plants. Opposed. A large proportion of the population is opposed to the construction of nuclear power plants, against, dead set against, in opposition, averse, hostile, antagonistic, imbecile, and so on. Okay, so now, though often regarded as a science throughout its history, astrology is widely considered today to be diametrically opposed to what? The findings and theories of modern Western science. That's your source, by the way. She ain't saying that.
What you did there, sir, was a fallacy.
Boom! Shakalaka boom! 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 This is your source. Your source. This is your source. How in the freaking hell could I commit a black and white fallacy reading the source that is clearly defining what astrology is? This is giving us a definition of what astrology is. So how could I be committing a logical fallacy, the black or white? I didn't do that. Your source said it. It says it right here in your source. You said I did a black and white fallacy. Your damn source says, though often regarded as a science, throughout its history, astrology is widely considered today to be diametrically opposed. These words mean on the opposing side to what? The findings and theories of modern Western science. Astrology is on the opposite side of modern Western science. So how could I commit a black and white? Ma'am? Let's hear you explain this.
It's a black and white fallacy. You presented two alternative states as the only possibilities when in fact more possibilities exist. So you decided that because it was diametrically opposed, that it has to be a pseudoscience. And that's not necessarily true.
Your damn source says astrology is widely considered today to be diametrically opposed to the findings and theories of modern Western science. The word science shows up again. It don't matter if it's Eastern science, ain't no such thing. Western science, Southern science, Northern science, Central science. Science is science. I don't know why we giving it a locale. However, you said that I committed a black and white fallacy, but it was your motherfucking source that gave us the definition of astrology. And I'm black and white? Huh? I ain't Michael Jackson, and I ain't singing. Your source says, though often regarded as a science, throughout its history, astrology is widely considered today to be diametrically opposed. What does that mean? It was regarded as a science throughout its history. Huh? Come on now, I'm about to preach the word in here tonight. If it's thought of as a science throughout its history, it's considered today to be on the opposing side of the findings and theories of Western science. There's that word. Look, I didn't make this up. But how many times does science show up in this ending part of the paragraph? Hold on, maybe y'all can't see. Let me zoom in. How that look? Huh? How does look? Listen, I ain't got time for none of that. You said that I committed a fallacy. I ain't got time to let you complete, because I'm going to catch the completion. Though often regarded as a science throughout its history, astrology is widely considered today to be diametrically opposed to the findings and theories of modern Western what? Science. Come on, why is you playing with me right now? Well, let's hear you talk, because I'm finna cook. I'm finna cook. I'm cooking. You see my sources in the description of this video. I'm cooking.
Not at all. So, I mean, like, what is a pseudoscience, right? Pseudoscience consists of statements, beliefs, or practices that claim to be both scientific and factual, but are incompatible with the scientific method. So I can definitely see how you're saying like that goes against science because it's not compatible with the scientific method, which is what science uses to prove. Okay. Pseudoscience is often characterized by contradictory, exaggerated, or unfalsifiable claims, reliance on confirmation bias rather than rigorous attempts at refutation, lack of openness to evaluation by other experts, absence of systematic practices when developing hypotheses, and continued adherence long after the pseudoscientific hypothesis has been experimentally discredited. And I know that you would really love to use that because you're like, oh, it has all these double blind and triple blind and quadruple blind tests, and people still believe, right? But it has to still try to be scientific and factual. So yes, pseudoscience could go with that. Belief and acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists.
It could go with it. It could go with it, or it can't go with it. It could go with it, or it can't go with it. Make your mind up on what you're trying to argue because you're treading lightly. You're treading lightly. And don't make me pull my book up. I don't want to go in here and pull my book up live and give you and read again to you what the hell science and pseudoscience is. So I'm going to cut to the chase. And I'm going to shoot from the Scientific American because it does a really good job real quick. While a pseudoscience is set up to look for evidence that supports its claim, Popper says a science is set up to challenge its claims and look for evidence that might prove it false. In other words, pseudoscience seeks confirmations and science seeks falsifications. Let's continue. There is a corresponding difference that Popper sees in the form of the claims made by science and pseudosciences. Scientific claims are falsifiable. That is, they are claims where you could set out the observable outcomes would be impossible if the claim were true, while pseudoscientific claims fit with any imaginable set of observable outcomes. Astrology does what? Claims. What are they claiming? To fit with any imaginable set of observable outcomes. What does astrology do? Let's go a little bit further. Let's find out what astrology actually does. What does astrology actually do, ladies and gentlemen? Look what it does. Nature and significance. Astrology is a method of predicting mundane events based upon the assumption that the celestial bodies, particularly the planets and the stars, what is this? The natural world, considered in their arbitrary combinations or configurations called what? Constellations, the natural world, in some way either determine or indicate changes in the sublunar world. Oh, sublunar, huh? Okay. Okay. That's from your source. So why is you trying to play me?
That's like saying science where? Science who? Because you're saying here, you're just going to accept it. It's true. You don't care. You don't even have to prove it. That's definitely opposed to science. A belief system, right? Let's look at a belief system. Is this opposed to science? A set of principles or tenets which together form the basis of religion, philosophy, or moral code. Well, it's a belief system. What's a tenet, a principle or belief, especially one of the main principles of a religion or a philosophy. Philosophies are not proven. There's their thought process as well. So I think that this also goes, there's the opposite of science as well. A philosophy would definitely fit astrology as a theory or attitude held by a person or organization that acts as a guiding principle for behavior. Yes. The study of the fundamental nature of knowledge, reality, and existence, especially when considered as an academic discipline. But the study of the theoretical basis of a particular branch of knowledge or experience. Yes, definitely. So we have astrology definitely fitting under philosophy, a belief system, a belief, and what you would like to say is a pseudoscience. I don't know. It has to be scientific and factual. Has to try to say all of those things, and I don't know that it is doing that. But you, sir,
You said that you don't know if it's doing that, ma'am. You said that you don't know if it's doing that, ma'am. And it's telling you right here in your source, while you're running from dealing with the rest of this source that you have, it's telling you astrology is what? A method of what? Predicting mundane events based upon the assumption that the celestial bodies, what are the celestial bodies, ladies and gentlemen? Astronomical object. So you're telling me that astrology is a method of predicting mundane events based upon the assumption that the astronomical object, particularly planets and the stars, we're dealing with astronomical stuff. You see where I'm going with this? Because apparently you didn't understand what astrology was. You keep saying that astrology is dealing with belief, and then you try to use philosophy. Then you try to muddy it up and try to cover it up and say, well, it's not necessarily dealing with science. You're trying to give astrology an out. You don't want to deal with the fact that astrology is a method of predicting mundane events based upon the assumption that celestial bodies, that's the real world. We're talking about astronomical objects, right? Particularly planets and the stars, considered in their arbitrary combination or configurations called constellations, which we looked up what that was already. In some way, either determine or indicate changes in the sublunar world. So what does this word mean? What does this mean? We must know. We got to know, nickel. That's how Ray said it in life. If you must know, you got to know, nickel. Now, it says sublunar sphere. In Aristotelian physics and Greek astronomy, the sublunary sphere is the region of the geocentric cosmos below the moon, consisting of the four classical elements: earth, water, air, and ding, 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 ding. Yeah. The sublunary sphere was the realm of changing nature, beginning with the moon, up to the limits of the universe. Everything to classical astronomy was permanent, regular, and unchanging. The region of Aether, where the planets and what stars are located. We're talking about the natural world. So astrology is a method of predicting mundane events upon the assumption that the celestial bodies, in particular planets and stars, are considered the arbitrary combination of configurations called constellations, in some way either determined or indicate changes in the sublunar world. Lady, what are we talking about? Astrology is trying to deal with the natural world. It is trying to predict things using the celestial bodies, the planets and stars, to indicate some type of mood swings and balances upon people during seasons. You trying to make it run from it being a pseudoscience and saying it's just a belief system, when your source is saying that, damn it, it is trying to deal with the natural world. It is a pseudoscience based on the criterion of what it is used to measure. You got the damn evidence. Let's go.
You did do something. You asked a question. You asked, is it a science or not? Because I'm saying it's not a science, right? But you know, you made a point with this. Let's see what you said here.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what I said. I know how to make a point. Real good.
Astrology is often regarded as a science throughout its history. Astrology,
Yes.
but why come I can't finish? You just said that you're not arguing that it is a science, and that it is saying that regarded as a science throughout its history. Which one is it? If it's astrology,
Look at her clicking through. She won't play the whole video for the context,
Which one is it?
but she want me to listen to her.
That was your question. Which one is it? Well, we all know that astrology and astronomy were one.
Oh,
They were presented as one
oh,
for most of its actual from birth to now,
whoa,
right?
whoa.
Astrology
Whoa,
and
whoa. Whoa,
and
whoa.
astronomy.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on now. Hold on now. Hold on now. Here we go. Here we go. See, this is where, let me use this analogy, right? This is when you lay the information down on your desk. You spread it all over your desk, and now you gotta review it in its totality, and you gotta measure it up and get it just right the way you want it, so you can dive straight into it and handle your business to come to an honest conclusion. And watch what she does here.
Well, we all know that astrology and astronomy were one. They were presented as one for most of its actual from birth to now, right? Astrology and astronomy were together for most of the time. And in the 18th century, they separated them, right? It separated them between science and non-science based on new information that came to light, right? When you learn new things, you make changes and stuff, especially science. We
So
know
why
this,
you ain't
right?
making no
Science
changes?
fixes itself, as they like to say.
Why you ain't making no changes? Why
So,
you ain't fixed your stuff?
of course, we're not going to take my word for this as usual. We're going to see. So astrology is a range of divinatory practices. We know what that is, right? Attempt to gain insight by way of a cultic standardized process or ritual. So it is a range of divinatory practices recognized as pseudoscientific since the 18th century. But that's it, the 18th century. So since this time, they have decided that it was no longer considered a science. You look up astrology and astronomy together, right? They were archaically treated together, but gradually distinguished through the late Middle Ages into the Age of Reason. Developments in 17th century philosophy resulted in astrology and astronomy operating as independent pursuits by the 18th century. Was that 18th century, right? So, whereas the academic discipline of astronomy studies observable phenomena beyond the Earth's atmosphere, the pseudoscience of astrology uses the apparent positions of celestial objects as the basis for divination.
Keep reading.
Okay. Why do they keep trying to throw this pseudoscience on this divination?
No. Don't run. Don't run. Keep reading. Don't insinuate. Let the data speak so that we can come to an honest conclusion based on the data, not your opinion or your belief or your assertion. Let's let the source speak. It says, whereas the academic discipline of astronomy studies observable phenomena beyond the Earth's atmosphere, the pseudoscience of astrology uses the apparent positions of celestial objects as the basis for divination. What you gonna say? Let me let you finish.
Why can't it just be the belief system that it is, right?
Nowhere in this did it say anything about that goddamn belief system. It didn't. It don't say anything like, it doesn't say that it's all this, that, and the third. Astrology is a method of predicting mundane events based upon the assumption. That's the whole key here, assumption. But they say it's a type of divination that involves forecasting. What the hell does the word forecasting mean? Watch what the word forecasting means. It's gonna sound a little bit similar to assuming. Forecast, to predict or estimate. Forecast. They forecast that shares in the company will start trading at a profit soon. That's in the sentence. It's a consumption and forecast. I'm gonna say it again. Forecast, to predict or estimate. So astrology is the type of divination system, a divination that involves the predicting, or let's go back, tell you what the word forecasting means once again. This is a damn shame. Involves the predicting of earthly and human events through observation. See, this is why I continue to say that it is a pseudoscience, because we're talking about observation. What is one of the rules in science? I mean, one of the steps. One of the major steps in the scientific method is observation. And this is specific. Observation and interpretation of the fixed stars. That's natural world. Sun, that's natural world. Moon, that's natural world. Planets, that is the damn natural world. Let's go.
Divination. Why can't it just be the belief system that it is, right? Because that's what it is, right? It's a belief system. It's constantly telling us this. So, but to go back to answer Sean's question, is it a science or not? It is not. Of course not. And when did it become not a science? It became not a science in the 18th century. That's when it became no longer a science. But then, you know, it still probably isn't enough to prove that it's not Hey,
All right, so let's pause right there. Let's do something fantastic for the people. You know what I'm saying? Because I see that you're handicapped in your research. So let's just have a little fun. Let's go to space.com. Let's go to space.com real quick. Astronomy, the oldest scientific discipline. Astronomy is one of the oldest scientific disciplines that has evolved from humble beginnings of the counting stars and charting constellations with the naked eye to the impressive showcase of humankind's technological capabilities that we see today. Despite the progress astronomy has made over millennia, astronomers are still working hard to understand the nature of the universe and humankind's place in it. The question has only gotten more complex as our understanding of the universe grew with our expanding technical capabilities. As the depths of the sky open in front of our increasingly sophisticated telescopes and sensitive detectors enabled us to spot the weirdest types of signals, the star-studded sky that our ancestors gazed at turned into a zoo of mind-boggling objects, including black holes, white dwarfs, neutron stars, and supernovas. And this ain't nothing but like famous astronomers, so I ain't gonna deal with that. Now, at the same time, the two-dimensional constellations that inspired the imagination of the early sky watchers were reduced to an optical illusion behind which the swirling of galaxies hurtling through space-time reveals a story that began with the Big Bang some 13.8 million years ago. Then they give us a story of understanding how the universe evolved. And then they give us a history of astronomy with the arrival of the telescope. Okay. Now, let's move on a little bit more. Let's go to UNESCO. Y'all know I like the good sources. The Silk Roads were driving up. Well, let me give you the title. Did you know the influence of astrology on the science of astronomy along the Silk Roads? See, I'm not two-sided here or one-sided here, right? I always try to help people out, no matter what. I always try to help people out. Silk roads were a driving force behind a significant cultural exchange across many different parts of the world. Throughout the long history of these routes, a blending of civilizations and people resulted in the sharing of various knowledge bases and the creation of pluralistic disciplines of scientific study, still recognized today, including medicine, mathematics, geography, cartography, and astronomy. There were also a number of areas of academic inquiry enriched by these exchanges that are generally no longer considered sciences, such as alchemy, but which neither the less form or an important part of the shared heritage and legacy of these routes, and which played an important role in the development of the sciences. Key example of such a discipline is astrology, a broad field concerned with the search of meaning and predictive information in the sky. Through closely observing and monitoring the location of the stars and planets, astrology sought to understand human behavior and predict events based on the influence of the celestial bodies. The practice probably began as soon as humans first started to observe astronomical cycles, with some of the earliest evidence dating from the 3rd millennium BCE throughout much of history. And up until the 17th century, astrology was considered an academic discipline across much of Eurasia. In fact, astrology was commonly accepted in political and cultural circles, with astrological concepts applied in other fields, including alchemy, meteorology, and traditional medicine. Here's your problem. Along the Silk Roads, foreign systems of astrology were adopted in China during the Tang period. In particular, the practice of horoscopes, predictions, made by astrology based on the position of the sun and the time of the person's birth or on a calendar significant of events, was incorporated into the existing Chinese astrological framework, which was itself based on ideas of the Iranian plateau. Due to its close links, the other science during this time, astrology often acted as a medium of transmission of other knowledge bases, predominantly from Indo-Iranian sources, and especially within astronomy and the close mathematical observation of the stars and planets. Additionally, a lot of Chinese horoscopy from this period was derived from Hellenistic works, such as the Dorotheus and Setian, transmitted to China along the Silk Roads via Indo-Iranian intermediaries. Intermediaries. Now, similarly, Indian astrology was often introduced into new regions of Central Asia and Iranian plateau and China alongside the introduction of Buddhism. Another significant shared legacy of these trade routes, early Islamic astrologers also included numerous Indian theories in their works, most of which reached them via texts written in the Middle Persian and during the time in which direct translations into Arabic and many other scientific texts from ancient Greek and Indian sources were made. One of the most important scholars who transmitted Indo-Iranian astrology is well known in the 9th century astrologer Abu Ma'ashir from Balkh, who combined Hindu, Sasanian, and Hellenistic traditions in his highly influential work, Book of Thousands. All right, so from here we get a general idea of what she was trying to run through and say without giving us some specifics here. So now when we say that two things was kind of working in unison or whatever the case may be, here's where I have a problem at. When we go look for evidence for astrology, we don't get evidence like this. This is an astronomical site. It's the first astronomical observatory. Göbekli Tepe. Everybody should be familiar with this site. Not only here, but here. Why am I saying this? Naphtalius, 7,000 plus years old. Some dated a little bit further back. Göbekli Tepe is old as hell as well. We have evidence for this. This is nearly 10 to 12,000 years. But where is the first astrological evidence? In an article written in 2012, they talked about the good heavens, the oldest known astrologers board discovered. This is the oldest known. They tell us that dating back more than 2,000 years, the board discovered in Croatia in a cave overlooking the Adriatic Sea. So we have astronomical sites that are in the tens of thousands of years ago, 7 to 12,000 years ago. And then we have astrology evidence for 2,000 years ago. But supposedly they're working simultaneously or during a certain period, as was stated by the Mrs.
Pseudoscience, but it is a belief. So we're going to go back to Western astrology, right? And it's based on Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos, right? So what is that? What is that? What even is that? We're basing it on this. What is Tetrabiblos? All right, so Tetrabiblos is it's basically 4 books. Okay. And it's a text of the philosophy and practice of astrology, written in 2nd century AD by Claudius Ptolemy. Okay. Ptolemy's Almagest was an authoritative text on astronomy for more than 1,000 years. And the Tetrabiblos is a companion volume which was equally influential in astrology. The study of the effects of astronomical cycles on earthly matters. Okay, so he as a scientist wrote two basically he wrote books, right? But he wrote them on two different things, on astronomy and then astrology. So basically astronomy was the science, right? And astrology was the divination based on it. But at the time that he was writing it, they were together. They were as one, which allowed for astrology to kind of make its way into science, into being known as a science. So we hear here Ptolemaic astrology. It was in textbooks, right? So hold on. With the translation of Tetrabiblos in Latin in the 12th century, Ptolemaic astrology became integrated by Albertus Magnus and Thomas Aquinas into medieval Christian doctrine. The theological acceptance encouraged the teaching of Ptolemaic astrology in universities, often linked to medical studies. This, in turn, brought attention in literary works such as Dante's, which helped shape the Dante's Inferno, which helped shape the moral, religious, and cosmological paradigm of Western Europe during the medieval era. The Tetrabiblos was largely responsible for laying down the basic precepts of Renaissance astrology. It was a necessary textbook in some of the finest universities of Renaissance and early modern Europe. Okay, so here we're looking at how it was linked to medical studies. It was in universities. It was being taught clearly as a science. Ptolemaic astrology continued to be taught at European universities until
Ptolemaic astrology.
in the 17th century, right? 17th century. But by the mid-17th century, the study struggled to maintain its position as one of the respected liberal sciences. So, as we see, this is beginning to be a pattern. Around the 17th century, people started getting hip. People started, the scientific method came along. We got some telescopes and stuff. Oh no, hold on. This is a belief. I don't even know what we're learning this for. It's not real. Okay, that's what they're saying.
They didn't say anything in here about a belief. You're reading this source and it didn't go into a belief. You're insinuating such because you don't want to use the right word. It says Ptolemaic astrology continued to be taught at European universities into the 17th century. But by the mid-17th century, the study struggled to maintain its position as one of the respected liberal sciences. At this time, the contents of the Tetrabiblos, as that Ptolemy stuff, started to draw stigmatization as part of a diabolical art of divination. One 17th century critic was to write of its subject, "No superstitious art is more fitted to forward the aims of the devil than the astrology of Ptolemy." The intellectual standing of astrology collapsed rapidly at the end of the 17th century, but the historical impact of Tetrabiblos upon the world culture continues to engage the attention of scholars of classical philosophy and a history of sciences in antiquity. It also maintains its position as an influential textbook for practitioners of modern Western astrology, and English translations of the text were published by astrologers in the 18th, 19th, and 20th century. The early 20th century humanist astrologer Dane Rudher reported that astrology of his era originated almost entirely in the work of Alexandrian astrology, Claudius Ptolemy. Even 21st century astrological textbooks have described the Tetrabiblios as being, without a doubt, indispensable for any serious student of astrology. Did you hear the word belief in any of that? But you did hear science come up several times. It says the outstanding mark of Ptolemy's astrology is described as, how was it described, y'all? Informed by the philosophical and scientific spirit of his age. I don't say belief. They don't say religion.
This is real. This is intangible. We can't prove it with this new system we have here. We have to kind of let this go. And so so Ptolemy kind of lost footing. He lost his ground there, which I can understand politically. It probably was bad because back then, religion and politics and medicine kind of all were mixed in. And this is a time period that they started to separate out of that, right? But when you look at, where is he at? Okay, when you look at him as to why things were natural and useful, right? He began to try to show like why, you really needed this, you really needed these predictions, you really needed this stuff to help people to basically become, because he said that foreknowledge accustoms and calms the soul by experience of distant events as though they were present and prepares it to greet with calm and steadiness whatever comes. So he's trying to get people ready for their destiny, whether it's impending doom, whether it's happiness, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Knowing what's coming will calm people and it gets them into a nice, malleable state. And he was using this to basically appeal to religious people and different kind of psychologies and stuff like that, so that he can continue to be considered, astrology continue to be considered a science. It's political here at this point. However, since medieval religious doctrine dictates that the individual soul must possess free will in order to be responsible for its own choices and the consequences that flow from them, then it has to, you can't really say like, okay, so basically they're saying, okay, a person has to have free will.
Quit making up stuff and get to the point.
He's saying that he could tell a prediction into the future, and they're like, okay, so how is this good? How is this anything? And he's saying, well, they can change it. You know what I'm saying? They have free will. They can do whatever. You know what I'm saying? It would be good to know what's coming up. And he switched his position because at first he was saying that it would just be good to know, regardless of the fact that you can't do anything about it. To appeal to the church, he was saying it will be good to know because you can change it. You have free will. You can do something different. You can do whatever. So he was doing a whole lot of politics and stuff with astrology once it became known that it was no longer a science, right? But the politics that he...
So now it's no longer a science, and now he's doing politics. And are you going to read this mundane astrology for us, please?
Was doing was...
No, you skipped right by it. Why is this important? Here with all that trying to justify it being a belief. Mundane astrology, also known as political astrology, is what she's referring to, but she didn't want to actually get into this. Is the branch of astrology dealing with politics, the government, and the laws governing a particular nation, state, or city. The name derives from the Latin term mundos, which means world. Certain countries have astrological charts or horoscopes, just like like a person is said to in astrology. For example, the chart of the U.S. is widely thought to be sometime during July 4th, 1776. For this is the exact date of the Declaration of Independence was signed and made fully official, thus causing the birth of the United States as a nation. Indeed, July 4th is a major national holiday in America and unequivocally thought of as the birthday of the entire nation. You see where I'm going with this? Mundane astrology is political astrology. It's a branch of astrology that deals with politics, government, laws, nation, state, or city. It's dealing with reality. Then it gives you an example of what mundane astrology is, because it tells you what it uses the Independence Day as a marker for when the nation was built. Now, I'm not going to put no sauce on it and say more than what the damn shit is saying itself. The history of mundane astrology is widely believed by astrological historians to be the most ancient branch of astrology. The Babylonian astrology was exclusively concerned with mundane astrology being geographically oriented, specifically applied to countries, cities, and nations, and almost wholly concerned with the welfare and the state of hold on, I know, I'm sorry. I know y'all can see but can't. I'm here. The state and the king as the governing head of the nation. Astrological practices of divination and planetary interpretation have been used for millennia to answer political questions. They're using astrology, mundane astrology, to answer political questions, ladies and gentlemen. But only the gradual emergence of horoscopic astrology from the 6th century BC did astrology develop into two distinct branches of mundane astrology and natal astrology. So what are the techniques and principles? Astrologically, the affairs of a nation are judged from the horoscope set up at the time of its official inauguration of the birth chart of its leaders, or various phenomena such as eclipses, lunations, great conjunctions, planetary stations, comets, and ingresses. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Let me let you continue. Go ahead. Talk your talk. 10 minutes left of this shit.
With who? The church, because it's a belief. And he knows the belief. It's divination. So it falls under belief wholeheartedly. It would never it can never appeal to science, because once they did that separation, we know that it's not scientific anymore. But that's still not done, because he brought up astrological medicine, right? Because astrology wasn't medicine. And it's basically saying that if you look here, you have the zodiac man, and this anatomical man or whatever, it has all of the zodiac on the body, because the zodiac is going to associate with a certain part of the body. So when you look that up, right? Zodiac man. The reason why that was important is because, they observed that it seemed that the moon brought high tides, right? Moon's out, you see the high tides, they come. So the body parts that were associated with zodiac signs um, that the moon could, I guess what I'm saying. Basically the zodiac sign that was occupied by the moon, right? Where the moon could affect them. There you go. And when the moon, they were affected by the moon, then a tide of blood might gush out if they were doing bloodletting from that area, right? And they kind of let blood back then. For a lot, letting blood is like you cut something, you let the blood come out. So bloodletting is a way to cleanse things back then, cleanse you, and of different different things. So they had the body parts associated with different zodiacs, and they would use that in medicine. So let's see, astrological medicine. Zodiac man was used in medieval medicine to determine the correct time for surgery, medication, bloodletting, and other procedures. The foremost rule was to avoid interfering with body parts when the moon could be found in its corresponding sign. The injunction was attributed to Claudius Ptolemy, of course. We just learned about him. Wherever the moon and stars are aligned with a certain astrological sign, they correlated with the body part, bodily system, or the four humors. The four humors separated the body into four parts, just as there are four elements. The four humors of the human body are yellow bile, black bile, phlegm, and blood. It was believed that these all needed to be in balance in order to keep up with your health. These humors were used directly to treat illness alongside the zodiac man. They were also used to explain and simplify concepts to patients. So as you see, it definitely was used in medicine. That definitely was a bad thing, right? It is no longer used in medicine. You will not find this anywhere in anybody's medical field ever, at all. They would probably laugh at you for bringing it up, right? And that's kind of going to my point as today. How are you saying that this is a pseudoscience today, when we know for sure that we would not be using the zodiac man, zodiac in any kind of medicine at all, right? So my conclusion is that astrology should not be considered a pseudoscience in modern times. Although astrology used to be a pseudoscience that was accepted as a science almost worldwide, with the advancements in science as far as the scientific method and the invention of the telescope, there became a big difference between astronomy, which is the actual observation and study of the universe, and astrology, the divination of the stars or planets in the universe. Once this separation was clear and science began to become a practice, astrology was no longer considered a science. And thus should drop the pseudoscience name. It is a belief based on ancient beliefs that the stars basically not only affect human behavior, but also give messages of future events. Astrology can be considered a pseudoscience in its antiquity, but in modern times we know that we cannot prove that it affects our mood the same way we cannot prove the crystals work or that intuition exists. To be able to make a judgment that something cannot tell the future at a given time, you have to believe that the future is fixed and cannot change. To think you can tell someone's characteristics by asking questions would mean to just throw psychology out the window. We know ourselves so well, right? Testing this belief system's accuracy is another show. But today we should acknowledge that it is a belief system and drop the pseudoscience label because it disrespects the believers in it. And what I'm saying about that whole to make a judgment that something cannot tell if
Listen, I don't need to hear none of that. Nowhere in your reading definitions and wiki articles did you provide evidence to show that in modern times it is a belief system. You try to draw a distinction in the 17th and 18th century to argue something. So I want to show you something. Astrology is a range of divinatory practices recognized as a pseudoscientific since the 18th century that claim to discern information about human affairs and terrestrial events by studying the apparent positions of the celestial objects. Has this changed? Has this changed? Bar method, Honey Clark. Has this changed? Has it? It is still a range of divinatory practices recognized as a pseudoscientific since the 18th century. They claim to discern information about human affairs and terrestrial events by studying the apparent positions of celestial objects. Has this changed? Let's go further. Most, if not all, cultures have attached importance to what observe the sky, and some, such as the Hindus, Chinese, and Mayas, developed elaborate systems for predicting terrestrial events from celestial observation. So they're predicting terrestrial events from celestial observation. That goes back into being a pseudoscience. Western astrology, one of the oldest astrological systems still in use, can trace its roots to the 19th, 17th century BC Mesopotamia, where they spread of yada, 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 yada. Throughout most of its history, astrology was considered a scholarly tradition. It was common in academic circles, often in a close relation to astronomy, alchemy, meteorology, and medicine. We got all of this. Following the end of the 19th century, the wide-scale adoption of the scientific method, researchers have successfully challenged astrology on both theoretical and experimental grounds, and have shown it to have no scientific validity or explanatory power. Astrology thus lost its academic and theoretical standing and common belief in its large decline until a resurgence starting in the 60s. So when has astrology not been about predicting and using the natural world? I want to know. I just want to know. I just want to know. When astrology has been defined to do something different than what it's set up to do. It's still doing the same thing. You talk about antiquity, it's still doing the same thing. Let me show you what I mean by that. All right. The scientific community rejects astrology as having no explanatory power for describing the universe and considered it a pseudoscience. Scientific testing on astrology has been conducted. No evidence has been found to support any of the premises or purported effects outlined in astrological traditions. There is no proposed mechanism of action by which the positions and motions of stars and planets could affect people. I'm going to go back again because this is what astrology is set out to do. Now we got to go deal with what astrology is. There is no proposed mechanism of action by which the positions and motions of stars and planets could affect people and events on Earth that does not contradict basic and well understood aspects of biology and physics. Those who have faith in astrology have been characterized by scientists, including Bar J. Balk, as doing so in spite of the fact that there is no verified scientific basis for their beliefs, and indeed that there is strong evidence to the contrary. Confirmation bias is a form of cognitive bias, a psychological factor that contributes to the belief in astrology. Astrologer believers tend to selectively remember predictions that turn out to be true and do not remember those that turn out false. Another separate form of confirmation bias also plays a role where believers often fail to distinguish between messages that demonstrate special ability and those that do not. Thus, there are two distinct forms of confirmation biases that are understudied with respect to astrological belief. Under the criterion of falsibility, first proposed by the philosopher of science Karl Popper, you heard me mention his name earlier, astrology is a what? Pseudoscience. Popper regarded astrology as pseudo-empirical in it that it appeals to observation and experiment. This is what I keep saying when you talk about the natural world. Observations and experiment, but nevertheless does not come up to scientific standards. In contrast to scientific disciplines, astrology has not responded to falsifications through experiment. In contrast to Popper, the philosopher Kuhn argued that it was not lack of falsibility that makes astrology unscientific. Watch what he says, but rather that the process and concepts of astrology are non-empirical. Kuhn thought that though astrology had historically made predictions that categorically failed, this in itself does not make astrology unscientific. Here's what he says. Nor do attempts by astrologers to explain away failures by claiming and creating a horoscope is very difficult. Rather, in Kuhn's eyes, astrology is not science because it was always more akin to medieval medicine. Astrologers followed a sequence of rules and guidelines for a seemingly necessary field with known shortcomings, but they did no research because the fields are not amendable to research. And so they had no puzzles to resolve, therefore no science to practice. While an astronomer could correct for failure, an astrologer could not. So if you told me that I'm a Libra and the moon is yada, 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 and I'm supposed to be feeling happy, joyous, and merry and ready to receive some money, and that don't happen, your prediction was false because you used the natural world to, based on your observation, to make a prediction in your so-called experiment. You teetering, you playing with science, and then you trying to run and say, no, it's just a belief. An astrologer could only explain away failure, but could not revise the astrological hypothesis in a meaningful way. As such, to Kuhn, even if the stars could influence the path of humans through life, astrology is not scientific. That's your argument. You're trying to position yourself in the lights of Kuhn and say, well, it's not science, but it's playing with science. Because either way it goes, you're running from it. So let's hear another viewpoint. Paul Taggart asserts that astrology cannot be regarded as falsified in a sense until it has been replaced with a successor. In the case of predicting behavior, psychology is an alternative. Taggart, a further criterion of demarcation of science and pseudoscience is that the state of the art must progress and that the community of researchers should be attempting to compare the current theory to alternatives and not be selective in considering confirmations and disconfirmations. Progress is defined here by explaining the new phenomena and solving existing problems, yet astrology has failed to progress, having only changed little in nearly 2,000 years. To Taggart, astrologers are acting as though engaged in, what are they doing, Taggart? What does he say? They're acting as though they're engaged in normal science, believing that the foundations of astrology were well established despite the many unsolved problems, and in the face of a better alternative theory, psychology. For these reasons, Taggart views astrology as pseudoscience. For the philosopher Edward W. James, astrology is irrational, not because of the numerous problems with mechanisms and falsifications due to the experiments, but because an analysis of the astrological literature shows that it is infused with fallacious logic, poor reasoning. What if throughout astrological writings we meet little appreciation of coherence, blatant insensitivity to evidence, no sense of hierarchy or reason, slight command over contextual force of criteria, stubborn unwillingness to pursue an argument where it leads, stark navigate concerning the efficacy of explanation, and so on. In that case, I think we are perfectly justified in rejecting astrology as irrational. Astrology simply fails to meet the multifarious demands of legitimate reasoning. That's from Edward James. See, what you do is you look for information to support your bias. And that is where you fall short. I'm not going to get into the studies because I don't need to go there with you. We already did that. You played it in the video and you ran. There's a lack of consistency in astrology. Astrology acts like it's using some type of methodology to predict, and then it runs from it. Oh, I'm a use scientific terms, but I ain't being scientific. It's just a belief. So here we go. Here goes the question. Scientific beliefs are false casual beliefs that appear to be based on facts and evidence, but that are not grounded in the scientific method. You thought you was gonna get away with something. You did. You thought you was gonna get away with it, didn't you? Because researchers argue that these biases in contingency learning may underpin pseudoscientific beliefs in the real world, including pseudoscientific health beliefs. The name of the article was Pseudoscientific Health Beliefs and the Perceived Frequency of Casual Relationship. Beliefs about cause and effects include health beliefs, and are thought to relate to a frequency of targeted outcome. But let's go a little bit further, right? Let's go a little bit further. Let's go further. You literally suck. Previous studies have proposed a low evidential criteria of proneness to jump to conclusion, influences, and formations of paranormal beliefs. We investigated whether the low evidential criteria hypothesis for the paranormal beliefs extend to the conceptual distinct type of unwarranted beliefs, those related to pseudoscience. We presented individuals varying their endorsement of pseudoscientific beliefs with two hypothesis testing tasks. In the beds task, the participants were asked to decide whether which of the two jars containing different proportions of colored beads they were collecting samples. In the mousetrap task, they were asked to guess which rule determined whether a participant-controlled mouse obtained a piece of cheese or a trap. In both cases, the volunteers were free to decide when to stop collecting evidence before completing the task. Our results indicate that compared to skeptic individuals presenting stronger endorsements of pseudoscientific beliefs, tend to require less evidence before coming to a conclusion in a hypothesis testing situation. Why am I bringing this article to your attention? Because there's a thing called pseudoscientific beliefs. Get familiar with why you're trying to run from this whole thing. Pseudoscience is usually defined as cognitions involving radical epistemistic misconduct and science mimicry. We ain't got to go too far. We ain't got to go too far. Don't. We don't. You said astrology should not be considered a pseudoscience in modern times. This is your conclusion. You said that it should not be considered a pseudoscience in modern times, but you did not provide any substantial evidence to support why it should not be considered a pseudoscience outside the fact that you said in a couple of wiki articles that it wasn't until the telescope and it, as you say right here, the scientific method and the invention of the telescope. That's what drew the distinctions out. And that came later on. Your argument is flawed because of your approach. Astrology should not be considered a pseudoscience in modern times. Why? Where's the evidence to support why? Because of the advancements in the scientific method and the telescope. Those are the two reasons why it shouldn't be. Go back to your definition of what astrology is. Because it is in the definition of what astrology is and what it is proposing to do lies the answer to whether it should be considered a pseudoscience or not. It tells you in the definition. It's a type of divination that involves the forecasting of earthly and human events through the observation and interpretation of the fixed stars, sun, moon, and planets. It's dealing with the natural world. Still, it has not changed. Astrology is defined the same way that it's been defined, even with the evolution of a telescope and the scientific method. It still progresses in the same range. So you can't come to me and say that what it should or should not be. We can go down and continue to read the article and understand. Originally, astrologers presupposed the geocentric universe in which the planets, including the sun and moon, revolved in orbits whose centers are at or near the center of the earth, and in which the stars are fixed upon a sphere with a finite radius whose center is also the center of the earth. Later, the principles, look, this said, follow it, originally, now it says later, the principles of Aristotelian physics was adopted, according to which there is an absolute division between the eternal circular motions of the heavenly element and the limited linear motions of the four sublinear elements: fire, air, water, earth. Special relations were believed to exist between particular celestial bodies and their very motions configurations with each other, the process of generations of decay and apparent in the world, fire, wind, earth, and water. These relations were sometimes regarded as a complex that no human mind could completely grasp them. Thus, the astrologer might be readily excused for any errors. A similar set of special relations, and assumed by those whose physics was more akin to the Greek philosopher Plato. For Platonic astrologers, the element of fire was believed to extend throughout the celestial spheres, and they were more likely than Aristotelians to believe in the possibility of divine intervention in the natural process through celestial influences upon the earth. Since they believed in the cities, excuse me, I don't know why this ad is popping up. Believed in the deities, creation of the celestial bodies themselves. We don't run from the definition and then superimpose our belief upon a word that is defining itself to still deal with society, the natural world. You cannot remove the purpose of astrology. What is the purpose of astrology? The original purpose of astrology, on the other hand, was to inform the individual of the course of his life on the basis of the positions of the planets and the zodiacal signs, which has to deal with the 12 astrological constellations at the moment of his birth or conception. From this, science called genethaliology, casting nativities, were developed the fundamental techniques of astrology. The main subdivisions of astrology that developed after the gene theology are general, cathartic, and why I can't say this word, interrogatory. Yeah, interrogatory. Sorry. Now, general astrology studies the relationship of the significant celestial movements, times of vernal equinoxes, eclipses, or planetary conjunctions, to social groups, nations, or all humanity. It answers by astrological means questions formerly posed by Mesopotamia to the Baru. Wow. Y'all don't want me to continue this. You don't want to. What I'm telling you is the definition of astrology has not changed. Doesn't say that astrology is a belief system that does not adhere to scientific methodology, etc., etc. Doesn't say that. It has not changed. Now, if you want to go find me a better definition that's going to help you justify your argument, well, by all means, man. But don't you ever go get on a mother freaking StreamYard and do a show and come up with this bull jive again. Do you understand me? Don't you ever try to challenge science with Sean, where we deal with real proper research methodology, where we expose all pseudoscience in a scholastic or derogatory way. We don't care nothing about your feelings. We don't care. Don't care nothing about your feelings. You fix your mouth again to say astrology should not be considered a pseudoscience and don't have the supportive evidence to properly assess what it is that you're saying, then give up. Don't even try me. Don't use my voice in no videos, nothing. Because you said it should not, insinuating that you didn't have enough evidence to say that astrology is not a pseudoscience. Astrology is a belief system according to yada, 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 yada. You don't say that. This is what you say. Astrology should not be considered. Oh, so there's a possibility that it is a pseudoscience because you said it should not be considered a pseudoscience in modern times. So there's a possibility that it is a pseudoscience. Because you didn't argue it with evidence, you left a possibility out there because you couldn't find the evidence to support it not being a pseudoscience. It's some cap in your rap. You looking real Vanessa Del Rio-ish. Big time. Big time. Here's your argument. No, I ain't done. Sit your ass down there and be quiet. I know your son listening because that's my dog. I know he subscribed to the channel. He gonna say I'm right. Here you go. I'm gonna go through these 2 articles real quick, and then I'm gonna get up off of your backside, your hind side. I'm gonna remove my foot from your backside, respectively. It may have started out as a proto-science, a science in the making, but it became an unpromising project before finally deserving the label of pseudoscience. But for many modern fans of astrology, all of this is a misguided discussion. Astrology has no scientific pretension, they say. It is a tool for introspection. So what is introspection? Huh? You're looking for some justification. Introspection is the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional process. But you continue to try to use natural world tools to answer. Why is this? Huh? Why would you do such a thing? A misleading theory, the pseudoscience behind astrology. Yeah, this article was revised last year. Oh, you do not want me to read this to you. You do not want me to read this to you. You listen, let me listen. The next time you get the audacity to grow some kahunas and strike up a live stream and present some information again directed in the way of science with Sean, you better watch how you do it, because I'm not going to be nicer than I was today. The next time, I'm going to treat you like you're JJ. Since the beginning of time, humans have looked to the natural world to make connections to their everyday lives. How many times have you heard me tell you that? From these observations, we have formed 2 competing concepts. What are the 2 competing concepts? Science and religion. Regardless of what you believe, both of these concepts are valid and naturally coexist in our society today. Look at you trying to justify. Astrology is a belief that the celestial bodies in our universe have an impact on our day-to-day interactions. Although widely regarded, it is considered a pseudoscience for a variety of reasons. To understand this concept, we must first discuss what astrology is, the lack of scientific connection, and how this belief plays a role in our everyday lives. See, when you do non-biased research, you come to honest conclusions about subject matters in which you are so fascinated with, and then you have to change your position. So assume the change your position. Honey Clark, Bar Reloaded, Denise. Assume the change of your position. So what is a pseudoscience? This concept refers to practices and beliefs that are erroneously regarded as scientific. meaning they are mistaken to be scientifically accurate. However, before we can apply this to astrology, we must first understand the basis of what astrology is and how it is used in modern times. By definition, astrology is the idea that due to the position of the stars and celestial bodies in the sky, there are influences on human affairs and terrestrial events, such as being able to predict the outcome of future events and determining the key traits of an individual's personality. At its root, astrology came from a time long before we have proven scientific answers for phenomena in our natural world. Humans have always participated in science, and by observing the constellations, made their own conclusions to what they meant. Astrology first began in Mesopotamia in the 18th to 16th century and was an observation of ancient deities influenced the sun, moon, and natural occurrences such as solar eclipses and phases of the moon. For centuries, this belief traveled around the Middle East before making its way to Western Europe in the 15th and 16th century. And it wasn't until the 17th century that scientific knowledge and the planets revolving around the sun became a popular view, thus disproving the need for nature deities to explain astrological concepts. The need for astrology died down in the Western world until the 60s when the hippie movements brought it back. The connection between the mind, body, and nature, often dubbed the Age of Aquarius. This social ideology has held its ground into modern times with commercialized horoscope readings, 12 zodiac signs being common topics around the millennium, and Generation Z groups today. There are countless reasons for why astrology is disregarded as factual in the modern world. But primarily, this is due to there being no scientific evidence that these claims are true. Astrology is significantly misleading as it uses astronomy as its root. One more time for the slow folk in the back, the bar method, bar reloaded, Honeycut, Honey Clark, Denise Worley, what's your other aliases? Captain Saber Pseudo, you know what I'm talking to. It says astrology is scientifically misleading as it uses astronomy as its root. You see what I'm saying? You thought that I was playing games, but see, I don't play no games, right? Assume the position of moving away from the bull jump. Assume it. However, the conclusions made are not scientific, rather mere predictions or observations. An interactive checklist by the University of Cal Berkeley prompts readers to evaluate the scientific value of astrology based on the key characteristics of science. The most important of this list is astrology testable? Does it rely on scientific evidence? Is the scientific community involved? In response to all these prompts, the answer is simply no. Although astrology does take into account accurate measurements of the stars, celestial bodies, the conclusions made by the readings are simply too general and broad to be considered an accurate conclusion. Lady, astrology is misleading, scientifically misleading, because it uses astronomy as its root. Now, how can I say such a thing? How can I say that astrology tries to use astronomy as its root? Simple. Celestial bodies, planets, stars, nature, the earth, wind, fire, water. All of those things that I just mentioned deal with the natural world and are things that astronomy sets out and deals with scientifically. I don't want to go any further, but I am going to give you this to read because I really feel like in your limited research, you don't possess the proper ability to deal with this work from a scholastic perspective. So assume the freaking position. So from this point forward, man, I don't want to hear no more from you about no motherfucking astrology. It's a pseudoscience because it hides itself, it cloaks itself into hard sciences. Watch this. Astrology science for today, or whatever the hell. Readings. Let's go look at the horoscope. Let's see what the horoscopes say today. Since we want to feel good about something, let's go see what the hell they predicting. Let's see what these astrologers are predicting today. See what kind of shit they got for us today. The sky today. Mercury goes retrograde in Capricorn. See, already some pseudo shit. Mercury goes retrograde in Capricorn. 2:36 a.m. The moon enters Aries and the moon void of curse ends. What the hell do you mean by the curse? Like this shit. Following this, the moon enters Aries, ending its void of course, which began last night. I said curse, course. Over the next 2 days, the moon and Jupiter are the only planets transiting fire signs. What? Transiting fire signs. With so many planets in Earth signs now, we need this extra boost of enthusiasm to keep us motivated. To optimally channel this energy, seek out physical activities to get your body moving. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't exercised today, according to astrology, you need to get your body moving. It is not too late to walk a half a mile, push-ups, jumping jacks, somewhere around that shit. And then it says, especially in the northern hemisphere, these colder months can turn us into couch potatoes. Get your circulation going. Huh? Watch as your mood is boosted. Denise, have you worked out today? Did you get up and do some jumping jacks? Say it. Hell no, I'm not doing no damn astrology. I'm beating this shit up. Let's go somewhere else and see what the hell these motherfuckers line us about. Let's get another one, y'all. Feeling good. The motherfucker said the devil card. This is some bullshit. All this shit is cute. Ain't good for nothing but cute. War Chief says, astrology discern information about human affairs and terrestrial events by studying the apparent positions of the celestial. Are you just going through some shit? Tarot is not astrology. Well, they include tarot into the whole process. What's in the stars today? Choose the sign. Choose your sign. Okay. So let me find out. Let me choose my sign and see what's in the stars. So today, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very good thing that you're still exploring all your options because you have to be patient with the learning curve. Look at this laughable bullshit here. I have to be patient with the learning curve. New facts and details are still dribbling out. So don't get discouraged if you're getting the answers you want right now. The success of your latest endeavor depends on other people as much as it depends on you. So you have to wait for them to catch up with you. Oh, I guess they're talking about Denise here. Oh, look at how they're predicting shit. Half of the situation is beyond of your control. So don't take on the whole burden. They ain't got shit to do with you. Okay. So let's go down here and let's look at a Leo. Huh? Let's see what the prediction is for a Leo. Oh, watch this, Leos. Oh, this cannot be no better than, look at it. The noise in your romantic life is going to be amplified today. Ooh, which means that there's a lot of fun in store for you. Delightful coincidences will make you feel more alive than ever before. And the apple of your eye is feeling frisky. Uh-oh. A favor is in the day's cards, you and it will likely come from your sweetie. Guess what, y'all? This every last one of us. This ain't got every last one of us ain't no Leos. But we all know somebody who feeling frisky tonight, who trying to give you that, yeah, put that yeah on you. You know what I'm talking about? We all know that. So how can that be for Leos, but not for Libras? When we all know people want to get busy with us. Huh? See what I'm saying? You see them? Nah, don't play no game. Y'all, do you undersmell me? Like for real, for real, for real, for real, for real, for real. Like, what are we talking about like right now? Let's go to Capricorn. Look what it say, Capris, Capricorns. Self-doubt is absolutely poison today. If you doubt your abilities for just one moment, you'll lose all the momentum you've built over the past few days. You can make yourself relax by realizing that less capable, less spirited people than you have gone through what you're going through and succeeded. So why shouldn't you? These big events, major presentations, or nerve-wracking social engagement don't deserve the weight you're giving them. Toodles, toodles, loodles, doodles. Yay. Uh-huh. So let's go on a little further, shall we? Shall we go on a little further? What should I select next? Someone, anyone? You are about to come to crossroads in your life. You should take the road that your mind tells you is the right one, not your emotional choice. Right now, you're feeling a bit too confused to be good indicators. Your financial worries will soon be a thing of the past thanks to your generosity of someone close to you. You will be given a real opportunity for career advancement, although it's going to be contingent upon a long-term commitment. There is no such thing as an easy reward. You see this bullshit? As stated, all of us are in a position in our lives right now where we are dealing with something that will be one of these indicators that are mentioned for Tauruses. FYI, I got a phone call during this presentation about a dog from a brother in Denver who should be calling me, trying to make sure that he can get this dog that he has an interest in, and he wanted to make sure nobody had bought the dog from up under. But y'all didn't know that. Neither did your predictions. The point is this shit is a pseudoscience. It is easy money if you just make up some shit. Look at this. This is crazy. So, again, you said Astrology should not be considered a pseudoscience in modern times. Yet, astrology in modern times is still out here making predictions about the natural world, hiding behind belief and using it as a justification for saying it's not dealing with science when in fact that it is. It is. It's dealing with science. It's hiding itself in astronomy. You heard it. I gave you the source for that. So before I do anything any further, I ain't letting this bull junk go. I'm gonna give you a little history of astronomy and enjoy this 14 minutes.
Who are we? Where do we come from? And where are we going? How and why was the universe born? These are some of the eternal questions associated with astronomy that continue to pique human imagination from ancient times to the present day. Astronomy is the science that has as its main purpose the determination of the positions, dimensions, and movements of the celestial bodies. So in this video, we are going to talk about something magnificent that will help us understand the humanity's perception over the years about astronomy. Let's analyze and get deep into the history of astronomy. Astronomy is the oldest of the natural sciences and powerfully associated with religious, cosmological, and astrological beliefs. The first astronomers were the ones who could distinguish the planets and the stars due to the fact that they were the first ones that made observations and predictions. Before we continue with our exploration to the history of astronomy, be sure to like or dislike the video so that we can continue to improve and make these videos better for you, the viewer. Plus, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our weekly videos. From the beginning, humanity turned its eyes to the sky full of awe and questions. The sunrise and sunset of the sun, the phase of the moon, the alternation of seasons, the movement of other planets in the sky, the appearance of comets, and the shocking phenomenon of eclipses were the first evidence that there is something above that needs to be discovered. That is how astronomy started to develop. These incidents raised our curiosity and made us wonder, what are they? Where do they come from? We do know today, but imagine in those days. They were like gods. As early as the 6th century BCE, ancient Greek philosophers documented evidence that Earth was a sphere. They noted that the night sky looked different when seen from various locations on Earth, hinting at our planet's curved surface. They also observed the round shadow of Earth on the moon during lunar eclipses. These philosophers were even able to calculate the circumference of Earth quite accurately. They did this by measuring the length of the shadow cast by an object at exactly the same time in two different locations. Taking into account the distance between those two locations and the difference in the length of the shadows, they calculated that Earth's circumference was about 46,250 kilometers. That is very close to the real value of 40,075 kilometers. In the year 185, Chinese astronomers became the first to document a supernova. Several supernova explosions have been observed since then, including a particularly bright one in the year 1054, which at its peak was 4 times brighter than the planet Venus, one of the brightest objects in the night sky. Some supernova are even bright enough to be visible during the day. The notion that our own galaxy, the Milky Way, is but one of trillions of other galaxies in the universe only dates back about a century. Before then, nearby galaxies were thought to be cloudy regions of the Milky Way. The first documented observation of the neighboring Andromeda galaxy was in the year 964 by a Persian astronomer who described it as a nebulous smear. For centuries, it was simply known in star charts as the Little Cloud. Before the 16th century, Earth was commonly thought to be at the center of the solar system, with all other celestial objects revolving around it. This is known as the geocentric model. This theory, however, did not match some confusing observations made by astronomers, such as the path of planets that appear to move backwards on their orbits. In 1543, Polish astronomer Nicholas Copernicus proposed a heliocentric model of the solar system in which the planets orbit the sun. This model explained the unusual path of planets that astronomers had observed. The new theory was one of many revolutionary ideas about astronomy that emerged during the Renaissance.
Recordings just got better. Hey, it's Dana from StreamYard. I'm so excited to announce that local
Period. The work of astronomers Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler led to an accurate description of planetary motions and laid the foundation for Isaac Newton's theory of gravitation. This process dramatically improved humanity's understanding of the universe. Their observations and investigations were strengthened by the invention of the telescope in the early 17th century. Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei popularized the use of telescopes to study and discover celestial objects, including Jupiter's 4 biggest moons. In his honor, they are known as the Galilean moons. Throughout the years, we have found ancient monuments of astronomical interest that are about 5,000 years old. For instance, the pyramids of Egypt and the megalithic Stonehenge monument in England have an astronomical orientation so that they are connected to various astronomical phenomenon. The orientation of the pyramids shows, for example, that the Egyptians knew some basic addresses in space used by astronomers. It's also known that they've been using a calendar since 4000 BC. So this means that they were well aware of the phases of the moon and the movement of the sun in the ecliptic. A significant factor to our knowledge of the universe plays the Greek astronomy. The breakthrough that gave Greek astronomy its own particular character was the application of geometry to cosmic problems. The oldest extant source that clearly states that Earth is a sphere and that gives a sound argument to support the claim is Aristotle's On the Heavens. Aristotle mentioned that Earth's shadow as seen on the moon during a lunar eclipse is circular. He also mentioned the changes that occur in the stars that are visible as one moves from north to south on Earth. Aristotle claimed that certain mathematicians had contrived to measure Earth's circumference and had found a value of 400,000 stads. Also in the 3rd century BCE, Aristarchus of Samos applied geometrical reasoning to estimate the distances of the sun and the moon on the sizes and distances of the sun and the moon. However, his initial premise included several questionable numerical values. For example, he assumed that at the movement of the quarter moon, the angle between the sun and the moon, as observed from Earth, is 87 degrees. From this, it followed that the sun's distance is about 19 times the moon's distance from us. The actual ratio is about 389. A second doubtful observation was that the angular size of the sun or the moon is 2 degrees. Another of Hipparchus's contributions was the discovery of precession, the slow eastward motion of the stars around the zodiac caused by wobbling, over a period of 25,772 years, in the orientation of Earth's axis of rotation. Hipparchus's writings on this subject have not survived, but his ideas can be reconstructed from summaries given by Ptolemy. Hipparchus used observations of several fixed stars, taken with respect to the eclipsed moon, which had been made by some of his predecessors. On comparing these with eclipse observations he had made himself, he deduced that the fixed stars move eastward not less than 1 degree in 100 years. The Babylonians, in their theories, revised their locations of the equinoxes and solstices. For example, in one version of the Babylonian theory, the spring equinox is said to occur at the 10th degree of Aries. In another version, at the 8th degree. Some historians have maintained that this reflects a Babylonian awareness of precession, on which Hipparchus might have drawn. Other historians have argued that the evidence is not clear, and that these differing norms for the equinox may represent nothing more than alternative conventions. It is important to mention Galileo, a famous scientist that contributed to the knowledge we have today of our universe. He is well known for his telescope. Galileo, through his telescope, that is the first of all humans, in 1609, observed the mountains and valleys of the moon, the stellar nature of our galaxy, the sunspots, the planet Saturn with its ring, but mainly the phases of Venus and the 4 satellites of Jupiter. His unique observations radically changed the worldview of his time. A heliocentric follower of Nicholas Copernicus, he realized that on the one hand, the phases of Venus would show that this planet orbits the sun, and on the other, the 4 satellites of Jupiter, which has since been called Galilean, provided the solution. The moon was not the only case. There were other celestial bodies orbiting a planet. Their existence forever destroyed the belief that all celestial bodies revolved around the Earth. Our little planet, with all that entailed, has ceased to be the center of the universe. Combining mathematics with physics, Galileo rejected the existence of the perishable sublunary and the indestructible crystalline supermoon world, proving that the same laws govern and apply throughout the universe, thus expanding the limits of what we can see. In the same year, 1609, the genius astronomer Johannes Kepler, the legislator of our solar system, published a book in Heidelberg called Astronomia Nova, and indeed it was news, as it recorded the first two laws of the motion of the planets and discovered the first of all the astronomers of all time, the elliptical orbits of Mars and the other planets around the Sun. Influenced by Copernicus and his teacher Michael Maestlin, a heliocentric, he relied on the accurate, long-term, and credible observations of the great Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe, and gave the laws that have ruled the planet since then. It was amazing that this mystical and religious man overcame his fears and hesitations, and uprooted the Earth from its central position and the planets from their circular orbits. The first law says that the planets race around the Sun's elliptical orbits of which the Sun holds, while its second law shows us that in equal times they are erased from the planet equal areas. That is, the Sun remains still and occupies one outbreak of ellipse, while the planet, when it moves along its elliptical orbit, scans at equal intervals, equal areas, inside the ellipse, and not equal arcs on its perimeter. Unprecedented discoveries that laid the foundation of modern astronomy and made Kepler a legislator of the solar system. As you can see, this was just the beginning. Thanks to the construction of perfect telescopes, astronomers have slowly managed to reconstruct the history of the universe. What is certain is that astronomy's progress over the last 400 years has provided answers to questions from millennia, putting an end to all sorts of superstitions. A huge contribution to the building of human civilization. Eclipses are no longer but mere alignments and additions of celestial bodies and comets. These mysterious visitors from the depths of the vast universe are unburned celestial bodies, some dirty snowballs, as the famous astrophysicist Fred Whipple describes them as early as 1950. Babylonian astronomers in the 1st and 2nd millennia BCE tracked 5 points of light in the night sky that moved differently than the other stars did. They concluded that something fundamentally different existed. These 5 points of light were not stars at all. Historians and astronomers now believe the Babylonians were among the first to recognize the planets Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, which become visible to the naked eye at different times of the year. Today, astronomers collect data about celestial objects by using huge telescopes on the ground as well as in space. For example, in 1923, Edwin Hubble fundamentally changed the scientific view of the universe when he used the 2.5-meter diameter Hooker telescope to prove that the Andromeda Nebula exists beyond our Milky Way galaxy. Hubble's discovery of the universe's ongoing expansion also paved the way for other astronomers to theorize its origin. The Big Bang Theory, first proposed by Georges Lemaitre, was later bolstered by strong evidence. The discovery of the cosmic microwave background, CMB, faint noise left over from the massive explosion that gave rise to everything in the universe. The CMB was accidentally discovered by radio astronomers just 5 years before the 1969 Apollo 11 moon landing. These modern telescopes, equipped with massive mirrors, allow astronomers to capture the light of very faint and faraway objects. Specialized techniques and sensitive scientific instruments have been developed to study not only visible light, but also the entire electromagnetic spectrum of light, including infrared light, radio waves, and X-rays. Large complex telescopes and advanced techniques have even enabled astronomers to directly observe phenomena including black holes, distant exoplanets, and gravitational waves. Improvements in satellite launch and design allowed astronomers to collect even more data about planets within our solar system in the second half of the 20th century. Several robotic space probe campaigns, including Mariner, Venera, and Voyager, ventured farther than ever before. Thanks for watching, everyone. I would really like to know your opinion regarding the history of astronomy.
Man, I had to leave us with that, man, because we didn't got caught up in the whole celestial bull jive of what somebody want to say now, this person wants to change their position and say, okay, it's both a belief and a pseudoscience. Boy, I tell you. Boy, I tell you. I don't know what's up with these people. Tell you, I don't know what's up with these people, man. They just stuck in their ways, I guess. Tyson tearing that water up. Bro, you just drunk a whole gallon of water, bro. But listen, man, we've been on this thing a little too long. You know what I'm saying? I got all the little stuff in that I wanted to get in. There's more, though. There's more. And I didn't really get into that. But there's more, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't think she want that smoke. I don't think she want that smoke. But she better not ever get on that pseudo-ass channel and try to test me. You want to test me? You want to rock with me? You want to rock with the Don Dada? You want to rock with me? Okay, well then do it again. You want to test me? You want to test me? My dog looking at me like I'm crazy. You want to test me? Come here, Tyson. She want to rock with the Don Dada? Expose her pseudoscience? She want to rock with me, what? Bumba clot. She don't want no smoke, bro. Just keep it a buck. Why is you up under me, bro? No. Go over there. Go back over there where you was at. Or go back to sleep. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, man, I appreciate everybody riding this thing out for a couple of hours. I think we enjoyed our time here. Somebody was like, don't do 3 hours. I did it on purpose for 3 hours.
I don't listen to people that I can't learn from. So I don't listen to interviews of artists that don't have no value in what they say. I don't listen to music from people that I can't get no game from.
Are you the smartest one on your team?
Definitely not. I might be the dumbest one.
So we have a lot to do. We must do our business, what we have to do the job. And we are not against anybody. It's not to be against. It's to know more about yourself and more about humanity and try to bring contribution to the world. It's like that. So this complex of inferiority is over. Like to say, I'm doing well, I'm okay, healing me. Heal what? You are not sick. Well, heal for what? You have to do the job. We must do the job. We do well in some in art, in music, in athlete. athletics, we do well. We must do the same in business, we do well. We must in politics, we do well. So we must do well in a pure intellect business. We must do well too, why not? We must learn Medu nature, we must know African language, African philosophy, African spirituality, African culture, African values. Know that very well, bring that on table, be proud of that, because if it's lost, humanity will lose something. So it's good for us to bring this kind of, if they don't study Buddhism, we lose Buddhism. They may study Buddhism. If they don't study Christianity, the Bible, we lose that too. So it's good to study. Everything is a part of humanity, is a legacy. So we study because it's part of humanity. It's not to say we are proud, we did, came it, they did. Now we have to build a new pyramid, that's all. New schools, new homes, new families, new community, not people in jail, nothing like that. Be there and do well and be positive. This is what we have to do now.
I offended anybody, please forgive me, I'm so not sorry. You won't smoke, just keep it between me and you to get that pronto. You heard me? They said smoke in the album, now they kept it.